Fortnite has had a lot of explosives over the years, and today we're going to be ranking them all to find out which one is the best. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and use code WATSOG in the Fortnite item shop to support me. Let's get straight into it. Alright, so our first weapon is the standard OG rocket launcher, and this thing, at least the lower rarities, I'd have to put an A. They're solid. The lower rarities don't do as much damage, and the reload time is also really slow, but it's a rocket launcher, so you can't really go wrong with like a rocket launcher, you know what I'm saying? And then the higher rarities are S tier. They're just everything that the lower rarities are, but like fix all the issues with them. They're just better, you know what I'm saying? Next, I'm gonna throw the grenade launcher in front of the rocket launcher, especially with the changes they made with it in chapter 3, where it's like basically like an immediate explosion once it lands. This thing is quite broken, kind of annoying to play against. I would say it's probably better than the RPG just because you can like spam it like more frequently, and it just like makes it really annoying to play against, if I'm gonna be honest. The grenade, the standard original grenade, if this was like, you know, pre-2023, probably say it's probably around here, around somewhere in A tier. But now after 2023, after they made the nerfs to it in chapter 4 season 2, I believe, this thing's just a C. Actually, it might be a D, because it barely even functions as an explosive anymore, because it doesn't really do any damage, you know what I'm saying? It only does 40 damage on the players, and it doesn't even break builds that well anymore either, so it's like it's barely even an explosive anymore. Next we have the pumpkin launcher, and this is just gonna go with the normal rocket launcher, you know? It's just a normal rocket launcher but reskinned. Snowball launcher, it's kind of similar. It works slightly different to the normal grenade launcher, so I'd probably put it slightly below it, you know? It's basically the same thing. I just believe it does like less damage now. I think it does like 50 damage. I don't know, I could be wrong, but it also has less ammo in the mag too, so it's good, but it's not as good, you know what I'm saying? The egg launcher, so this thing still has like the normal like grenade projectile bounce. It doesn't like explode immediately, so I'm gonna put it in A. It's worse than the other ones. It's still a grenade launcher. Like there's nothing you can really get wrong with that, you know what I'm saying? All right, the guided missile. Okay, so just to clarify, I'm ranking these based on how they function currently. So this is gonna be like based on the last appearance of the guided missile because it's removed from the files, but last time it was in the game it did 75 damage. It was also really slow, and for that reason I'm gonna put it in C. Right, it's cool. It's like a guided missile, it's in the name, but not only can people build to like protect themselves, it's also really slow, so you can see it coming from like a while away, and like the damage just isn't that great anymore, well, when it was last in the game, so it's nothing crazy. I'm gonna have to put it in C. If we were talking like the OG one, I'd probably put it like maybe A, but the current, well, not really the current, but like the last version in the game is probably a C tier. Alright, C4. I'm gonna put this at the top of A. C4 is really good. It catches you off guard. That's like the whole point of the item. You like place it down and it catches your opponents off guard. It's solid, it does its job well, and yeah, there's nothing really else to add to it. Alright, so next we have OG clingers, regular clingers, and these probably bottom of A tier. They're like OG grenades, but they stick to opponents and they actually do 100 damage like the OG grenades used to do. And so basically if you hit someone with them, you're basically guaranteed to crack their shield or kill them on the spot immediately, depending on how much health they have. And it's crazy, but you know, it's a consumable item, like a consumable explosive, so you were limited to the amount that you could pick up, which was I believe 6. I believe it was 6. So unlike like maybe like the stick grenade launcher we'll get to later, you couldn't just like refuel with ammo. So that's why I'm going to put it down a little bit lower. These consumables aren't as good as like the launchers themselves, so just keep that in mind when I'm ranking these items. Stink Bomb. Stink Bomb's going to go B. See, they're good utility. They're good for like when your opponent's like boxed up. There's not really any other situation you could really use them in, because their damage is just quite small that you have to catch someone off guard when you're using them. So like when they're in the box, you throw it, then they're panicking, you get a bunch of damage off of them, then you can like easily just like get a few shots and kill them. If you use it in any other situation, you're not really going to succeed all too well. So it's good, but it's not crazy. It's probably just like an average weapon, so that's why I'm putting it in B tier. It's just nothing crazy, you know what I'm saying? Next we have the quad launcher. Quad launcher, I'm going to place top of B. So the quad launcher, it has 4 shots, and it does like around 80-90 damage per shot, depending on the rarity, right? And you know, it's solid. It's really good at breaking builds, and yeah, I just don't think carrying this over a normal rocket launcher or a grenade launcher is viable. I just think the other options are just better, because you're getting basically the same damage with the grenade launcher, and I believe the projectile's faster on this. And the rocket launcher, you're getting more damage off, so you know, why carry a quad launcher? you know? If it's the only explosive in the game, it's good. You should probably carry it, but if it's not, there's better options in the game. You kind of understand what I'm saying. Dynamite might be... Ooh, I'm gonna put it in D tier. See, Dynamite, problem with it is, you have to hold it to... You have to like time your like explosion, right? So like the longer you hold it, the closer it gets to exploding, and it can actually explode in your hand while you're getting ready to throw it. You have to like perfectly time it, and yeah, and even if you do throw it, if you have enough time left on it, your opponent can throw it back to you and like blow you up. So it's like, this weapon's a double-edged sword. You have a chance of hitting your opponent, but they also have a chance at hitting you back with the weapon you use, and you also have a chance of just like blowing yourself up while trying to throw it. So I don't think the risk is really worth the reward, right? For an explosive that only does 70 damage, I don't think it's worth it. I think you're better off just running like a normal explosive weapon. I don't see why you'd really carry this, to be honest. Yeah, it's just not worth carrying Dynamite, like, in any situation ever. Alright, next, we're gonna go with Bottle Rockets, and this is F tier. The Bottle Rockets suck because they have a path. Not only do they have a path, they actually do very little damage. So not only could your opponent just avoid the path, it's not like the Bottle Rocket's gonna track them. They are just not doing much damage. So even if you get like one shot off with a Bottle Rocket, your opponent's not gonna be down much health. It's just 10 damage. It's nothing crazy. It's probably actually the worst weapon in the game, if I think about it. Like, worst explosive in the game. My bad. Misspoke there. There's probably... Actually, I don't think there is. I don't think there is really a worse weapon outside of ones that literally do no damage, but they're not in Battle Royale, but we'll get to those later. Yeah. The Bottle Rockets, just not good. Don't ever, like, pick these up in, like, any situation you're in, ever. They're just not good. Alright, so we have the Shatari Energy Launcher. This was a LTM exclusive. This was for the endgame LTM. And, you know, if this thing was in Battle Royale, it would probably be S tier, if I'm gonna be honest. Actually, I'll put it at top of A tier. It's kind of like how like the grenade launcher works now, except it has better damage on it because it was more an LTM where you get more health. But we're talking about if these were in Battle Royale. So this weapon really solid. Would I actually put it in A tier? I don't probably put it in S tier actually. It's like a grenade launcher but more damage, and it has infinite ammo. So yeah, this thing is busted. I'm gonna be honest. This thing is crazy now that I think about it. The proximity grenade launcher. This thing is kind of annoying to play against. It's alright when you have it, but when someone else has it, it's just kind of annoying. I'm gonna put it at bottom of B tier. It's not the greatest weapon. It kind of only feels good when someone else is using it against you. Like, you'd rather have other explosive weapons. Honestly, like, any other scoped weapon would actually probably be better than this, but you know, you're not always gonna have that. So the bullet projectile does take a while, and you're basically just getting off normal grenade launcher damage, which just doesn't make this weapon really all too viable. The reload time is also a bit long. Yeah, this weapon just has a lot of drawbacks. Like, at the end of the day, it's still like a grenade launcher, so it's still good, but there's better weapons. There's better weapons out there to use, if I'm gonna be honest. Next we have airstrikes. Airstrikes are probably C tier. Yeah, they're annoying. They do throw down a lot of explosive in a big area, but walk out of the way. Like, they can't track you. A lot of the problems with a lot of these explosives is that they can't track you. They can't track where you are. So there's really nothing you could do if like your opponent just like walks away. Because a lot of these explosives also have like long travel times. So yeah, that's like one of the problems with like explosive weapons in this game. They have travel time, and your opponent can just run. So you need like fast travel time, just like, you know, catch your opponent off guard and actually be able to use the weapon effectively. Kind of know what I'm saying. So yeah, the airstrike, just too many drawbacks, similar to like the proximity grenade launcher. Batarangs. Okay, so batarangs I actually think are really underrated. I don't remember people like really thinking they were all too crazy, but they did home into your opponents. They did track them. They basically had aimbot, and for that reason, I'm gonna place them at the top of the A tier. They were good. They didn't have really great damage, but they were tracking, so you could get past that. And they, you know, they were good. They were just good. There's not really much I could say, you know. I believe this was actually like one of the first collab mythics also in the loot pool, like in normal battle royale, which is also kind of crazy when you think about it. It's pretty cool. Nice little neat item. Next we have proximity mines. Proximity mines are kind of just like worse C4. Like, you place them down, but they're easier to see, and also you don't get to control when they explode, so they kind of just explode on their own, and they make it really obvious, and they take longer to explode too. So yeah, you can also shoot them to explode them. I don't think you could do that with C4 unless I'm wrong. Just like correct me in the comments if I am wrong. Yeah, proximity mines, they're alright, you know, they're nothing crazy. I probably wouldn't use them today if they were in the game, gonna be honest, but yeah, that's a proximity mine. Alright, the paint launchers and the paint grenades. We're gonna get through these quick, because these are part of Royale items that do nothing. They just make your opponents orange or purple, and they're all garbage. They all suck. They were in Battle Royale, they would be garbage. You would never use them. They would just be, it would literally just clog up the loot pool. There would be no point. Also, I believe the pink grenades are actually the ammo for them, which is an interesting idea, but, you know, it's whatever. Alright, propane tanks. You guys probably don't even know what this is, but this was like a prop item. Sort of like the gas can, except this thing didn't actually go into your inventory. You just kind of carried it until you wanted to throw it out. It's basically just a gas can, and gas cans aren't crazy as a weapon. Probably gonna put them in C tier. They didn't take an inventory slot, but you also couldn't switch to any of your weapons while carrying them. So yeah, I don't really think it was worth it, because you could do that with the gas can, but you can't do that with this. And speaking of the gas can, I'm gonna put it in like C tier too. Higher up in C tier, but still C tier. It does refuel vehicles, but fuel as a whole is just like not something I want to get into right now. It's kind of like it's kind of controversial subject, but you know, I might make a separate video on fuel. Who knows? But yeah, fuel is just not great. But you know, this is how you fuel it up: gas cans. And the explosive part isn't horrible. It does set like everything on fire around it when it explodes, which is cool. Nice little gimmick. I'd rather carry like anything above it, to be honest. All right, mythic shockwave launcher. Now, this is an explosive weapon. It doesn't do any damage, but the utility on this weapon is amazing, and I'm actually going to put this in S tier, like right away, like SS tier I mean, because the movement on this thing is crazy, and it was renewable because it used ammo and it wasn't like a grenade or whatever. Also, I want to mention, I'm being very picky when I call an explosive weapon here. Any of the launchers I got away with, even like the shockwave launcher, but like stuff like the shockwave grenades I didn't put in here because they're more utility items. So if it does like an explosive damage, I included it, but other than that, no. I'm being very lenient on what I'm calling like an explosive. I'm being based on this like little category. You can kind of see what I call an explosive, but yeah, there's a lot of different stuff. It's weird. Fortnite doesn't really have like, you know, I don't know how to call it, but like they don't really have like a definitive like line to cross for an explosive weapon. So yeah, that's why shockwave launchers are on here, but not shockwave grenades. I'm gonna make a separate tier list video on like utility like consumables and stuff like that. So make sure to look out for that later. You know what I'm saying? All right, so yeah, shockwave launcher SS tier, probably best thing we have in the game. Like not best thing, but you know what I'm saying. Best like move. It's good. Okay, it's good. Flare gun B tier. You know, it's solid. It reveals locations. It sets things on fire. But it's kind of, you know, you throw this, you throw a flare out, and then you pick it up with something else. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing crazy, nothing too spectacular, but it's a nice utility. And I honestly think the game's like way better whenever this thing's in the game. So I don't know. I think this should be like a mainstay. Don't make it like super common. Make it like one in like every 50 chests. But you know, I'd like to see this thing back in the game. It'd be pretty cool. Firefly jars, bottom of C tier. Setting things on fire is good, but it's only really good if your opponent's building out of wood, and, you know, you can carry 1,500 mats, right, and only 500 of that is wood. So as soon as they run out of wood, boom, this thing's basically useless. It only does 40 damage on impact, too, so, you know, the fire is cool, but the utility on it isn't really great, if I'm going to be honest. Alright, moving on to the Big Chill. Okay, so, yeah, the Big Chill, the exotic snowball launcher, it's worse than the snowball launcher, I'm going to be honest. It's probably D tier. The reason being is it just shoots chiller grenades instead of an actual grenade. So this thing doesn't do any damage, and if anything, you're more likely to get killed using this than to kill someone else using it. Because the impulse, it's like an impulse, it's not like a shockwave effect. So you can still take fall damage if you launch yourself with this. So, yeah, it's a cool little gimmick item, but nothing crazy. And I'm going to be honest, I think it would be really cool if they for all these different type of explosive like consumables, maybe like a launcher version. I think that would be cool. We have like this, the Big Chill with your chili grenades, sticky grenade launcher for clingers, shockwave launcher for shockwave grenades. You know, I'd like more stuff like that. That'd be cool to see. All right, the burst quad launcher. I think it's also worse than its original counterpart. I don't think it's bad. I still think it's on like the same level. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna put it in like above it, actually, now that I think about it, because the burst fire only takes one shot and it still has 4 shots in the clip, so you have 8 shots practically with this. Yes, I do half damage each, but 8 shots, it only takes up 1 ammo per like 2 shots, that's kind of crazy, especially for rocket ammo if you're trying to conserve. And you can basically just use the thing to like spam destroy builds. So I'm actually putting this above the quad launcher. I think it's really good, to be honest. Next we have the recycler. The recycler, it's going bottom of D tier. Same with the mythic version. Like, these weapons, the explosive just doesn't even feel like it hits like half the time. I feel like you have to like directly hit your opponent with an explosive, which is like, why? It's an explosive weapon. So why should I be directly hitting an opponent with an explosive weapon? If you want to do it so like the direct hit like does more damage, you could do that. The repeater rifle does that. It's not on this list, but you know what I'm saying? It's a sniper, so it's not on this list. You can go watch my sniper tier list if you want to see that. But yeah, the recycler, you have to basically hit your opponent on like directly to do any damage, and like, why? It's an explosive. The suck ability is, it's not good, I'm gonna be honest. The refuel, like the reloading mechanic is interesting. I give it that. It's cool. Infinite ammo on an explosive weapon is good, but if it didn't have that, it would be an F tier. That's the only thing saving it a bit here. I'm I'm gonna be honest. Alright, Cuttlefish. Cuttlefish, Cuttlefish, Cuttlefish. I'm gonna put this in B tier. The Cuttlefish is solid. It's basically just a better proximity mine. The reason being is not only do they explode like in a proximity mine, but if you shoot them, they explode instantly. So you could just throw a bunch on your opponent's box, and then you shoot one, and then boom, your opponent's box is dead, and you know, you might also get the kill there with a few Cuttlefish, because they do good damage. I believe it's like 60 or whatever. So having a stack of these and just throwing them on your opponent's box, they're basically dead. It's a death sentence. So yeah, pretty cool item. I can see why it's not in the game anymore, but it would be cool if it came back for a little bit. Alright, next we have the Plasma Cannon. Plasma Cannon, I'm gonna put in A tier. This thing just basically made like a little no-build zone, basically. It shot like the plasma ball. It went very slowly. It also did solid damage, you know, right? Solid damage, and, you know, your opponent couldn't build. Also knocked them back a bit, so that utility wasn't amazing, but the Plasma Cannon wasn't bad. I think it was good. I think it's a solid A tier weapon. Bottom of A tier, but still A tier. Alright, the Alien Knockin Launcher. So, this was the weapon on the Mothership minigame in Chapter 2, Season 7, and it's kind of like a shockwave launcher. I don't think it's as good. The shockwave wasn't as impressive, but you can also use this to shoot your opponents, but I don't know why you would do that. If this was like in the normal BR mode, which people did find a way to glitch it in, I don't know why you do that. I'd actually probably put it at the bottom of A tier, mainly because it also like had infinite ammo, so it was basically a weaker shockwave launcher with infinite ammo, basically. So that was cool, but you know, the shockwave wasn't the best, so A tier is where it is. A tier is where it is. Alright, then we have just like the normal shockwave launcher. The one we ranked earlier was the mythic, and this is just gonna go right behind it. It's the same thing, but with 2 less shots, basically. So yeah, nothing really to add there. Alright, Paper Bomb Kunai is the Naruto mythic item. This is just a worse Batarang. I'll probably put it at the top C tier. It did have homing, so that was good, but the damage just wasn't worth it. The Batarang is just this but better in like every single way, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, why would you ever consider picking up a Paper Bomb Kunai? Especially since at the time I believe like RPGs were in the game. Like, why? What would be the point? You know what I'm saying? You know, nothing really to add to this. Nothing really of note to add. Alright, next we have the Anvil Rocket Launcher. So, the Anvil Rocket Launcher is in the game right now. Right, and it locks onto vehicles. That's a specialty. It also does good damage, but the rocket travel is really wonky. It's kind of weird. I'd probably put this right above the guided missile. It does good damage. The rocket is a bit weird, but it also locks onto vehicles. So if someone's in a vehicle, it's really good, but it's very niche. It's a very niche use. So the actual weapon itself to use like against opponents, not great. Not great at all. Like, it's so predictable. It also just marks where it's going. So, yeah, it's just, like, not great. It can be used to push opponents out of vehicles, because otherwise they're gonna get destroyed. But other than that, nothing cool. Also, I find it kind of weird that I can lock onto train cars. Like, yeah, it makes sense as a vehicle, but they also can't be destroyed, so what's the point? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, it's kind of weird. Alright, the Ripsaw Launcher. The Ripsaw Launcher. It might be debating me on whether this is a rocket launcher or like an explosive weapon or not, but the game calls it one, so I'm ranking it here. And it's D tier. It's one use for destroying builds. I mean, I think that's its use because it looks like it's made for that. It's very niche because of the way it shoots. The projectile is very thin and it just kind of stops at a build. So it stops until it destroys a build and then it keeps going. And it's really kind of awkward to use. Yeah, it's an awkward weapon to use. The utility isn't much. The blade is kind of, it's just not good. It's not a good projectile. It's really thin. Nothing really crazy. It's like nothing really crazy at all. Alright, now we have the firework flare gun. Same thing as a flare gun. I don't think I need to repeat myself on this one at all. And then the goo gun. Ooh, the goo gun. The goo gun. I think I want to put this in SS tier. I don't think it's as good as a shockwave launcher, but this thing is broken. It did have a limited amount of ammo. You couldn't refuel this thing. Once you ran out, you ran out. But the explosive itself was so good. Like, you would like shoot it and like you could shoot like anywhere you wanted, and then it would like chain like an explosive goo, and it would just blow up everything that you shot with it. And the explosive damage was good too. So like, this thing was kind of broken. Like, this thing was crazy. Like, this thing, it's understandable why this thing was only in the game for a season, because this thing is broken. Alright, next we have Thunder Spears, the Attack on Titan stuff, the Attack on Titan explosive weapons, and they're probably bottom of B tier. They're an explosive, they're good. They basically shot like a clinger, like a little clinger. I mean, it was kind of a bigger clinger, but it propped you up in the sky and stood you still for a bit, so it made you easier to hit. It only had 4 shots until you had to find a new one, so not really crazy there. The explosive was good. It was a good explosive, but the drawbacks are just too bad of drawbacks to put it any higher than the bottom of B tier, if I'm gonna be honest. The ODM gear was way better, if I'm gonna be real. Like, better mythic. Wild Wasp Jars. Ooh, I'm gonna put these at the bottom of D tier. Another not kind of explosive, but I'm counting it because this is basically just a weaker stink bomb, I'm gonna be honest. One thing I do have going for it is that the little like radius that you get hit in is harder to see a bit because, you know, it's not a giant yellow cloud, but still, you can still see it, right? Yeah, it's nothing crazy. Like, and also the way you had to go out of your way to get these, no, it's just, no, don't use it. It's not good. Just, you have better items to use, if I'm gonna be real. Alright, the Cybertron cannon. I remember people saying this thing was really broken, and honestly, it is kind of broken, but it's not like broken. It did have infinite ammo, which I'm actually gonna put it up. Ooh. Actually, it's gonna go bottom of S tier. It's gonna go bottom of S tier. It had infinite ammo, but the knockback was that it knocked you back, and it had a pretty decently long charge up time. So yeah, there were drawbacks. Were the drawbacks crazy? No, you could still get away with it. I don't believe the knockback actually gave you fall damage. So if it did, correct me, but I don't believe it did. So it was nothing crazy, but yeah, that's all I can really say about it. It was a interesting mythic, that was for sure. Alright, next, the Rocket Ram. Now, where should the Rocket Ram go? I'm leaning towards S tier for the Rocket Ram. I think in between the snowball launcher and the rocket launcher is good. It's a good mobility item. It launches you like far in the air. The only problem with it is that people can like laser you out of the sky if you're using it, but it's really good because it launches you a long way. It's great mobility, and if you land on someone, good damage. Also, a little neat thing I did like about this thing: if you had another person who was rocket ramming at the same time as you, it would like bounce you guys. So like you'd go like I don't know how to describe it, but you would like one would launch up and then they would start going down, and then the other would launch up and they would contact, and the one who was launching up would go launch down, and the one who was launching down would launch up. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. The collisions with this thing was cool. I honestly don't think it would be bad fit for the current season we're in right now, but you know, whatever. People would probably complain that it's overpowered anyway, so you know, whatever. EMPs. Shield breaker EMPs. Where do I want to put these? These are an interesting item. These are interesting. I'd probably put them in B tier. There's one reason I'm putting them in B tier, and that is vending machines. If you throw these at a vending machine, they just drop a bunch of gold. They're free gold, basically. You find a stack of these, you just throw them at a vending machine, you're restocked immediately. The actual like grenade part of this isn't crazy. You can only break someone's shield with this. They don't do any white damage. I believe they got buffed to 80 damage this season, so you know, it's not bad. But yeah, also disables vehicles. That's another thing, but that ability is probably better with the anvil rocket launcher. I know it's in C tier, but the utility on this one's just better, if I'm gonna be honest. So yeah, I'd probably carry an anvil rocket launcher over this if we're using it for specifically destroying vehicles, getting rid of vehicles. But overall, I think that the EMP are better than anvil rocket launchers. I think the gold utility is just really good. I think that's really solid. Alright, sticky grenade launcher. Ooh, S tier. I'm putting it on top of S tier. This thing at the very beginning of when it was introduced, when you could like double stick grenade launcher, oh, that was crazy, bro. I'm gonna be honest. That was insane. It was like bam, 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 bam. And then they would just die. Your opponent's dead. You can't do anything about it. Like, you got sticky grenaded. Too bad. So sad. Wah, wah, wah. You're dead, right? They did nerf it, but even now, I still think it's solid. I still think it's really good. Like, if the double grenade launcher stuff was still in the game, I'd probably put it in S tier. Maybe above the glue gun, honestly. But the current state, it's still S tier, but it's not as good as it used to be. Alright, cluster clingers. I'm putting these at the top of C tier. The way they explode is just kind of awkward, in my opinion. You throw them, and then they, like, move outward of where you threw them. So like if you throw them on a ceiling, like the explosives will like fall off the ceiling and then explode. It's kind of like the mechanical explosive bow from chapter 2 season 6, except item form. And the explosives did more damage. Each explosive does 30 damage, so total of 90 damage because it's just at 3 fragments. So they're solid. They're a direct counter to the ballistic shield, but you're never really carrying these because it's really niche. I'm gonna be honest. Like, even though the ballistic shield is kind of broken, it's niche. Yeah, it's a really niche use. If I'm gonna be honest, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. I think they just need to make a better way of dealing with riot shields. Just make them so they break after a while. Like, they're deleted from your inventory. Sort of like the jetpack, you know what I'm saying? Alright, and now our final item, some of you might not call this explosive, but it does explode after you're done using it. It's like an EMP. The EMP stealth camo. I'm gonna place the bottom of C tier. The invisibility is not good because you could still see the opponent. You could still, so like, it's like a see-through green. It's like, it's not good. It's not good. Also, the EMP, it's not as reusable as the EMP grenades because you have to wait for the recharge, you have to use the invisibility. Like, it's just not as good. Like, the EMP effect for gold, for disabling vehicles, it's not good. Also, I believe the damage on this is actually less than it is on the EMP grenades for when you actually hit someone for shield. So yeah, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. Alright, so that was my exclusive tier list. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and use code WASTODREAM, the Fortnite item shop, to support me. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.